All right, so we'll get started. This is the July 28th, 2015 meeting of the Environmental Policy Commission of the Village of New Paltz. To get started, if we could just agree to approve the minutes from last time. Did everyone have a chance to look at them?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd motion to approve those if everyone feels good about them.
Second.
Okay, perfect. Membership updates. We do have an opening. And Marnette, you had just mentioned that you perhaps did not want to be a commissioner. Can we compel you otherwise? At this
Not
point?
yet. I really
Not
feel
yet?
like I need to, I really feel like I need to spend some time, maybe in the new year.
Okay.
And I don't think there's a time limit on it.
Nope.
I'll serve, I mean, I'll do stuff, but
Great.
I just, I just would feel better about it.
So in lieu of that, I think we should probably do some outreach and try to find
Definitely.
another commissioner. There are several individuals who were active with the village board who are more than knowledgeable on the issues that we address. So with your permission, I was going to reach out to them individually. Rebecca Rotzer would be one person, Ariana
Oh,
Bosco, or Jason West. None of them are serving now.
Isn't Jason pretty
What's
busy
that?
with Wallkill?
She's still deputy
She's,
mayor.
oh, that's right. Oh, geez. Why did I think she was out?
So I think Ariana would be good.
Okay.
Jason seems to have some, the whole Wallkill thing.
Yeah, he probably is hands tied with that. So I can look at perhaps sending a letter out to Ariana to see if she's interested. There were a couple of other names that came up. One of them was Andrea's husband. She would know better than I if he was interested, but we can certainly send out a letter.
Yeah.
So I wanted your permission to send out letters
Yeah.
on our behalf to sort of recruit a little bit. We also have openings for researchers. So I've reached out to a couple of people. Of course, we're all invited to reach out to anyone that we like. We spoke about Piglets, which is the high school
Yeah.
organization. The liaison for Piglets is in the process of moving.
What is Piglet?
It's the,
Participation in government, something.
The high school group.
Oh, it's a high school.
yeah, high
It's
school.
environmentally focused.
Yeah, participation in government. So
Oh, cool.
they're not just environmental.
Piglets.
They did that concert not long ago.
I don't know about it.
Oh, it was through the board, through the village board.
Oh, okay. So that was something we talked about in terms of researchers. It would be good for them. They could get a college recommendation or something
Definitely,
from us.
definitely.
So that's one avenue, and anyone that we know we could certainly recruit. So we, each commissioner can have up to 2 researchers.
2, okay, that's good to
So
know.
that's invitation. I guess the perks for that are if they're interested in government or environment, same thing, letter of recommendation, that kind of thing. And it doesn't take a whole lot of time, so that's that. Item updates. I'm going to skip Milbrook Preserve because I'd like Rachel to be here for
Sure.
that. The SOPs at DPW, Don brought to my attention that Blue invited us, or anyone who's interested, to take a tour of the DPW. As opposed to us kind of fishing around for stuff, it might be nice for a number of us, or one of us, or several of us, to go and see what's already being done and what things they've already made more environmentally friendly. And I think we'd be pleased to see that there's probably a significant number of things that they already do. So that's an open invitation. I'd be happy to go, and anyone else who's interested. I think maybe if we aim for mid to late August or early September. So I'll shoot an email to Blue. I'll tell him that we would be interested, one or all or some, in touring the DPW to see what they're already doing.
Sure.
And I think he'd be glad to have us. So I'll ask him for some dates that might work for him, and
And you'll let us know.
and yeah, I'll put something out.
Cool.
So the dates for tour, and that's fairly accurate, Don, from what
Yeah.
you gathered.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is that he said that not only do not use pesticides in the village of New Paltz, they will not even use dishwasher detergent And, yeah, the natural deer repellents, they don't use anything, so he was very conscious, no Roundup for sure.
That's great.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, that'll be good.
And I think too, you know, if there are really good things that have already been done, it might not be a bad idea for us to acknowledge that publicly, so. So it might
Definitely,
be a
put
good
a little
idea.
note, yeah, sure.
MS4 stormwater designation. After our meeting, our joint meeting, I was relatively concerned because it seemed like the ENCD on their side had been more proactive and active in the stormwater process. So I reached out to Don, and he said that from our standpoint, what we would be looking at is making recommendations for the village board as to how better be in compliance. But in terms of our obligation as a committee, we're not obligated to create any documents per se, as it appears that they had some hand in doing on the town side. So my thought on that was we might want to look at this through the lens of climate smart communities and see where those two things overlap. I know Noah's talked a lot about the climate smart communities and seeing what we can do. There might be some overlap there where we can look at it through that lens and have a positive impact on the MS4 designation. So I guess from my standpoint, I was concerned that we had some obligation beyond making recommendations. We do not as a committee. So
Can we talk about it when Noah can be here?
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. Would that be inaccurate?
Yeah, the village government, the DPW is pretty much taking responsibility, and the planning department, building department, they're doing that, so, you know, we can speak to it, make recommendations, but we're not responsible for it, as it seemed like the town was making their environmental board, like, do the actual work. for the
Yeah,
plants.
that was odd.
Yeah, well, it's different, different cultures.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
It was odd to me too, we do things very differently, so.
Right. So then, moving right along, plastic bag law promotion. $200 was allocated at the last village board meeting for the promotion of plastic bags, promoting the plastic bag law. I guess increased visibility being the goal or aim, getting the word out, having people more aware. My personal bent on it is signage in the parking areas. And that is, I think, one place to look. I'm definitely open to hearing other ideas.
What parking lots?
Come in. Oh, they can't.
Hello, how are you? So we were just talking about the plastic bag law. I'm John Starr, by the way.
Hi, Donna Lehman.
Donna,
Hi,
nice to meet you.
I'm Ms. Marta.
Hi, Jackie.
So plastic bag law, we have $200 to work with. Adding signage to the parking lots, I was thinking, you know, where you're gonna get bang for your buck, the big lot, sort of behind that laundromat that's connected to,
Where the post office is?
well, that would be a good one too, but the big one where the laundromat Oasis connects to it. Yeah, right over here-ish.
On Main Street?
Oh, wait, I know you're, I was like, wait, oh.
There's
wait,
an outlet
okay, the bar.
here, just right.
It's right next door by Starbucks and McGillicuddy's
Oh,
Am
okay.
behind
I
it.
pointing in the wrong way? Is
Yeah.
it more that way?
Yeah,
Okay.
McGillicuddy's and the creamery are behind that.
Starbucks, the outlet's right there, and then it has another outlet on the other side that comes out where Rock the Pasta is.
Sure, okay.
There
So-
used to be that big board, is that still there?
Exactly, and that's near where you pay. I think the board is there. but-
No, you don't pay at that one, you pay at the one that's by Starbucks.
Okay.
The one that's by Rock to Pasta, there's no like meter, that's a private lot that Bobby owns.
Right, but there's a board right next to the meters where you pay, right? There's a big thing there,
I
isn't
don't know
there?
if there's actually one right there, there might be, there may not be.
All right, so we'd have to
We'll
look. So that would be one place. Another good place would be the post office area.
They should be somewhere in like the vicinity of like downtown, so I'm trying to think of where we could put it. Maybe business owners, I mean, could we ask to put the signs in their windows?
We have the decals for the business owners.
Do we
and-
have a lot of them, or?
I don't know about that. Do we have?
We should have, a lot of them were at the Earth Day celebration. I left early, so I'm not quite sure who has them, but someone from this commission has stickers and
Maybe
cellophane.
Dennis does? Dennis said he just
Dennis
dropped off a
has
bunch
of the bags.
he said he just dropped them off at the food pantry, St.
Oh.
Joseph's, he just let me know. But yeah, we can figure out who has the decals. It would be good to maybe put those up, and if we don't have the decals anymore, maybe some, a certain percentage of that money can go to that.
Even though, well, I'm sorry, but even though they're in the town, how about the big supermarkets?
Yeah.
I don't know that we would have
Oh, the
any jurisdiction to put anything there. I
Well, we
mean,
could ask,
we could.
yeah.
Just for budget purposes, about $35 for one of those metal signs.
Okay, 35 per metal sign. So we'd probably have to be pretty judicious about how many of them we made and where we put them. If we have any better ideas for how to spend the money,
What if we
Oh,
got,
I like this idea myself, because I always forget. And
yeah,
I get in there and I have to go out
yeah, and I have a sticker on my car, just a Post-it note that says bag, so it's, even we forget, so.
yeah,
It's easy to forget. Now, in terms of if we were gonna move with a sign, we would have to provide a lot of information with not a lot of verbiage. So we'd have to say a lot with very few words. So maybe we could get a document together on Google and just shoot around some ideas for how to explain the bag law in 8 words or something,
Sure.
or whatever we could fit into a sign that would be visible to people
Oh, I
parking.
thought we were just gonna do a reminder, have you got your bags?
Well,
I mean,
Right.
I'd rather we get into the law now, we're gonna get you if you don't,
Well, it would have to be something brief, and yet if you weren't from the town, you would know what it was that they were saying, so,
But those, there are other towns, where I came from, a
We
lot
can
of
look
places say, remember to bring your bags inside, but that's more words than we need.
we can look up, I'm sure
So,
other
yeah.
towns have done something similar, and we can kind of base it off of
Sure.
the verbiage.
and I can,
Let's email around.
I can email to some of the people when we were working on writing the law, who had done it in other towns to see if they had anything already done.
I think that's a good use of $200 myself.
Yeah, and what if we also got like PDQ or like one of those companies to like maybe donate those like paper signs? Although I don't really want to use paper, I guess that kind of goes against our environmental, but
Well, in some cases, we probably could get away with a laminate sign
yeah.
if it was somewhere that was covered, like one of those billboard type things that have a covering, you could probably get away with a laminate sign. Now granted, someone might pull it down and you'd have to replace it, but they'd be a heck of a lot cheaper than $35. So.
Maybe we can get them donated too, like, Staples, PDQ, like one of those can donate. And you know what I can do, I'll scout the different like billboard-ish areas around town. And also on campus, because the kids are gonna come back soon, so they have plenty of boards on campus.
There's a ton of boards on
They just have to
campus.
be stamped by the student activities, otherwise they'll pull them off. But I'm sure, I'm sure that they'll approve it.
Now, we could do those very simply, because things don't last long on those billboards. They have a high turnover. So we could do those printouts, especially the first week or two with kids coming in. That would be a relatively inexpensive and easy thing to do. It would bring me back to my college days when I put signs up for our bags. So,
What if we got in touch with those environmental groups on campus, like the recycling club and stuff? Maybe they can include some flyers when they put, their own flyers up. Maybe they can include a message about it. Kill 2 birds with 1
Yeah,
stone.
Rachel's really plugged in with that club, so.
Oh, great, perfect. Did we do any editorial for like the newspaper with the plastic bag ban like recently?
when it was enacted, we did. And one of the other things that was floated around, it might have been when Joe and the ENCD were here, was getting the high school kids involved with some kind of a project related to the bag ban. And something I was just thinking about is, I wonder if it's possible for us to tally at some given point, how many bags have been taken out of circulation. And I don't know if there's a, it might be a lot to ask for the businesses to try to figure that out, but we might be able to come up with some
Average.
general figure, say at the 6-month mark and the 1-year mark or something. Or I don't know if we want to put it out to the 1-year anniversary, but at the 6-month anniversary, that would be a good thing to say. As of 6 months in this law, we've taken X amount of bags out of commission. So that would certainly be something. I mean, we'd have to figure it out, but.
How much do ads cost, I wonder, in like New Paltz Times, like a little like quarter page or something?
I don't know, but if we got enough people involved in it, we could probably generate enough interest to get a little article on it. I mean, that's something that would probably be of interest. 6 months out, what's going on with the bag ban. So might be something to start thinking of. April, May, June, July, August. September would be 6 months.
Cool.
September 25th.
And I can have maybe the students at the work while on campus, they could probably do it. I have connections with my work with them, so I mean, it's not too hard. I could just ask them to do it.
Yeah.
So something to think about, 6 months out, getting some kind of a bag count might be a good idea, generating some interest from press, media sources, and then we also have the $200 issue out there. So maybe we can reach out to those other people, as we said, see what signs already exist, and then we can start thinking ourselves about wording. So I'll send out an email to those other towns. We can look online, do a little research, and we'll talk a little more next time about it. Municipal waste.
Okay, so as far as, there was a village board meeting last week that I couldn't go to, but Dennis and I were talking, and he let me know that, let's see here, let me just get my notes up. The mayor apparently had asked that we research other communities that have done this successfully, like getting municipal waste and recycling done. And Dennis also believe that including commercial waste is like not a good idea, and I don't think that's going to be really attractive to waste management, like, or haulers in general, because it's just like a totally different volume of waste and types of waste, and it's going to get a little tricky. So I think for now, let's just keep it residential. We also are looking into like different composting options because reducing organic waste from our trash makes us our garbage more valuable to haulers because there's less overall weight. And so, the whole like zero waste thing. I also have been doing some research on my own, different hauler companies in the area. County Waste and Recycling, Lamella, Royal Carting, and Waste Management, just to see their options of waste sizes for their residents, if they do composting, which none of them do. All of them do recycling and waste, and they do weekly pickups, and how they bill and whatnot. And I'm open to new suggestions on other haulers, if you know like local haulers that I don't know of, because I only moved here about a year ago and like have been doing residential stuff, not as a college student. So I'm totally open to, if you use a certain hauler and I didn't mention them, then certainly send them my way. And then that way, I got basically all this information because of the RFP. There was an RFP done with Jason and Ariana, I think have worked on it as well. And I kind of just went through it, and there's a couple questionable things, and just some verbiage that needs to get changed, like removing the commercial, like I said, quarterly basis. What I realized from my research with these companies, that quarterly is different for each company. Some of them bill every 3 months, some it's 2 months, some it's every month. And different types of waste, and just things like that. So I want to fix up this RFP so that we can make it the most appealing to haulers, so they actually give us really great bids. And now that I know their prices for regular residents, I can kind of see like, okay, this one's obviously the best. There's a few obviously that were like, I was like, this is really high. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on right now with Dennis, and we're hopefully going to have a meeting with community compost. I know at this point they can't handle like a municipal volume of compost, but there are other options, and we were working with Shabazz. His last name is like escaping me right now, but this guy is going to help us with the RFP. So we already have like kind of like a draft going. It just needs to be kind of tailored a little bit to like our new needs, and also like I thought there was a couple of things that needed to be specified, like they were kind of vague, like, and also one of the things was like no bulk pickup, but then it said like there might be bulk pickup, and I was like, well, you have to specify what kind of bulk pickup it is, and it's like, I also want to make sure that I'm big on like consumers having, being able to be proactive, and I don't want the village to have to manage all of those different customers. Like if there's a problem with a pickup, they should be able to call the hauler, and then someone that works with the hauler should be available from 7 a.m. to like 5 p.m. every day to go over any complaints or disputes. I don't think that our village should be the one doing it, because then it's just the middleman, and then that's going to cost us a lot of administration fees, and we don't want that, right? So we have to make sure that the hauler is able to have this adequate staff to be able to take the complaints and have someone in their office all the time. And also they have to bill the customers and like the residents. We don't want our village to be doing that. So that's all going to be part of the RFP that we want the best bidder to do. So we're working towards it, you know, we're making some progress. So
you think it would be necessary? They probably have someone on staff to handle their existing calls, but you're thinking it might be necessary to have additional staff, or just a guarantee that they would be able to handle that volume.
Right, exactly. So, you know, if you know, enough people, I don't also want to push it on people. You know, there's going to be people that don't produce a lot of waste, that don't need a weekly pickup, and they're not going to want to sign on because maybe they're happy with what they have. But I want to make sure that the bidder is like great enough that like pretty much it's going to be like a no-brainer to sign on. But I also want to make sure that like this hauler is experienced enough in time and has a good reputation, and can definitely handle that volume of billing and whatnot. Because if we switch to one, it's very different from having 4 or 5 different haulers in our village. So that's all coming together. You know, that's all going to be part of the RFP. So hopefully, we hope that, you know, they'll come back with decent bids and whatnot. And there's instructions and stuff. You can more than happy to let you look at this if you want.
Do we have this digital anywhere?
Yeah, I just I added my notes from the waste hauler pricing is in my projects by commissioner. It's under my name, Jackie.
Okay.
And then also you'll see the RFP solid waste also in there, so you can take a look. I just kind of highlighted points that I was like, you know, all right, this is important, or this needs to be specified. You'll see in the
Yeah. Okay, great.
So yeah.
Awesome.
One more hauler, someone mentioned at the last village meeting, SDS.
SDS.
Out of Rosedale.
SDS. Oh, it's great. Yeah, I want us to be able to support like a local hauler as much as possible. It's just a matter of if they can handle it.
I just have a question about our process.
Sure.
This sounds so good, and it's actually happening and all of that. Let's say we come up with a hauler that we want to recommend, we recommend it to the village board?
Basically, we take bids. Like the way that they submit their bids to the village. I think it was to Terwilliger at this time. I'm trying to remember who this was for. Yeah, they submit it here to the village clerk, and it's like titled bid for solid waste and recycle pickup as a contract. So
And then what happens?
then basically over the period of 45 days, we, I guess, look for it, and it has to be approved by the village board, which I would hope that the village board would, you know, kind of take I mean, Dennis is now on it. That was an interest of his as a commissioner.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, he and I still talk about this quite often. So the village board would then have to vote on it and then accept it, or accept it with stipulations, you know, depending. In this, it actually says there could be stipulations, like when it's accepted, like we're allowed to accept more than one bid for something, but that kind of defeats the purpose if we have more than one hauler.
Right.
So I kind of was like, wait, that doesn't really make too much sense, but I don't know.
I think the discussion was maybe having one hauler licensed for one side of Main Street and one for the other side.
Oh, yeah?
So that there could be, we wouldn't be sole sourced. That was the discussion.
Okay.
And that would alleviate the pressure on them as to whether or not they could handle such volume.
Oh,
That is true.
right out of the shower.
Well, I just came from the pool.
I figured.
I really didn't want to leave, but
Thank you for coming.
you're welcome.
Can I just say, won't some homeowners and so on say, oh gee, this is my brother-in-law, he always hauls my, and I have to use this other thing? Will it
They don't
be-
have to sign on. I don't wanna make it an obligatory thing, like,
Okay.
they shouldn't feel, I'm very big on like, listen, you do what you want. You
Sure,
you know?
okay.
And I think for me, if the bid comes in at a very low, very competitive rate, it's kind of a no-brainer
Okay,
for people to
will
sign
roll
on.
for it.
Right, but if someone doesn't wanna sign on to it, then they're not obligated to do that.
Okay.
I feel
Oh,
most
that's
comfortable with
terrific.
that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I think then that everyone kind of is happy, and then those that aren't getting the best rate are like, wow, I want to switch now, so.
Right, and all that stuff will work its way out through public comment, and at least if people have the option, then it should alleviate some of those concerns.
Right, and removing the commercial waste, I think, was a big thing that I've talked to a few business owners, and they're like, wait a minute, like,
Yeah.
who am I gonna go to then, and what if it doesn't get picked up, and so I think it's just gonna be better for the.
Oh, it sounds great, and it's
Yeah.
really happening.
Does removing the commercial end of it alleviate the need for that audit that we were gonna do, or are we still?
Sure hope so.
Yeah, because if I recall, that was the issue, was really looking at what was coming out of the commercial end.
Yeah, meaning somebody had to spend 3 or 5 days going through all commercial trash
Oh,
in the
yeah.
village, and itemizing to see what should have been composted, what shouldn't be thrown away,
Yeah.
being improperly,
Who had to do that?
well,
Should buy him some ice cream or something.
We'll teach you to be a researcher, you know?
The original idea was huge, about multi-composting and a whole lot of stuff, and this is a little more scaled down.
Oh.
But I think that was a commercial trash water too.
Right.
Which sounds very nice until you get into the
No.
Oh,
details.
my Lord.
It didn't sound even nice, it was nothing appealing. But, yeah, no, this sounds like a more manageable and a more palatable thing, I think, for the community too, so.
That's an idea. Summer student work, $10 an hour.
There you go. All right, so Milbrook Preserve, we were waiting for you, Rachel, for this
Oh,
good
thank
news.
you.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, well, the village is gonna buy this whole piece right here. It was only gonna be part of it, they were gonna put like a townhouse, or I call them McTownhouses, but
Yeah.
they're gonna put some kind of development right here, and that's not gonna happen. They're gonna buy the whole piece, so it's very good news
Oh, my
because
God.
it's really, really pretty, and I've been thinking about this a lot, because what really kills the wetlands is something they do called cut and fill. And I feel like if we banished that, then it would restrict the kind of development that destroys wetlands. That someone could sort of get creative, because there are still a few more pieces. This piece right here, that's the owned by Floyd Nippon, and then there's some little pieces over here that aren't, that are. But otherwise, that this is huge, because this is 64 acres. This is as big as, well, even a little bit bigger than the Stoney Woods property.
Oh,
So
my
now there's a
Lord.
big space
That's just
there.
wonderful.
And they're applying for Julie, who's, I don't know if she's technically the researcher, but this project, the Milbrook Preserve, like most of the project, it's a town and village project, but most of it sort of is managed by CWASP, which is a town, I don't know if it's a town joint and village committee. I think it's mostly town, but it might have some villagers on it, I'm not sure. So, someone will tell me. But they are with the Walker Land Trust are applying for a grant to make paths. And they're making, it's gonna be like a loop, and it's just gonna go on the property that is owned by the town and the village. And we've looked at, I've been on 2 walks, I think 3 or more walks have taken place where they've walked through and said, okay, well, this is where we're allowed to be, and this is a good, this is a good view, a good walk, and here's where we can enter, and it's very, very good. So it's moving forward. They're going to do something called bog bridges, which is a very sort of eco-friendly. Have you ever been to the Harcourt? They have those long wooden things that are like really secured,
Yeah.
so that when it's muddy, you can walk on them.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
I've seen them in Massachusetts.
Yeah. So it's going to be that, and then so Julie has a Facebook group. I think it's It's a Milbrook Friends group on Facebook. I got added to it, but I'm just not good with Facebook. I haven't,
Friends, I haven't seen this one yet.
yeah.
Okay.
And we haven't like figured everything, you know, out. Like there's a lot of people who have been doing research over the years and who are like taking pictures now, you know, that had, you know, critter cameras in there. But eventually we'd like to make it so that, you know, people, a website where people can sort of, you know, contribute their stuff and other people can look at it and, you know, sort of one store, because there's a lot of information, because there's been several reports that have been done and there's like interest is gathering in doing more, especially with, you know, with Duzine Elementary, because Duzine is right there. And so some teachers have been taking their kids back there and it's doing really well. I don't know if anyone has.
Can you push it over?
And as far as the maintenance, that's going to be a citizen coalition, is this what I heard?
I'm not sure exactly, but that's basically what's going on now, sort of informally. You know, I mean, people, the paths are well worn because they're all ATV trails, you know, and but vegetation does grow over them, and so you know you can clip it. Sort of volunteers, people just do it. There's interest in, and Julie really would like to remove a lot of the poison ivy from near the path, especially if it's, you know, near the
Wonderful,
school.
thank you.
But, and so they're talking about different ways of doing that. And there's some guy with goats, I'm not sure if that's gonna work.
It's always a good way to go.
Yeah.
I have a little bit to add. So the village is going to be responsible for operations and maintaining
Great.
the reserve, and
The whole
the
thing?
cost of doing so will be shared by the village and the town in direct proportion to the amount of land they own. And they are working actively with groups of volunteers to do the day in or weekend, month in maintenance and maintaining trails. But if anything to be built or any improvements, the village DPW would do that.
Great.
Awesome. We were wondering who, or there was some question of how because the Harcourt ones are nice and simple, you know, like who had done those.
Well, yes, the Nyquist, they do that privately.
Yeah.
And no one, you know, I asked them, so how do you work this out where the village maintains this?
No, they have a guy that they, you know, that mows it, and it's really wonderful because there's no paving, there's no pea gravel, there's none of that stuff. You know, basically, you just mow it, you just trim it, you know. And it's also like, the thing about the Milbrook is that the water changes over the years, it moves, and you know, the beavers affect where it goes, and so if you have, and then trees fall and different things happen, so you can't, like a lot of the paths, it's interesting, they've changed over the years, like they'll go around a sinkhole, or they'll go, you know, or they can, you know, depending on the season, some of them can go like through the marsh or through part of the marsh, but so it's really good, you know.
Great news. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from what I've gathered, you know, it's been a pretty extended effort with a lot of people involved, and certainly you've done a lot of work, so, and a lot of people have, so commendations to anyone and everyone who's worked on that, including you, and it's a great thing for everybody. It's really fantastic, so. All right, climate smart communities. NOAA has been sort of our lead operative on this. I mentioned in passing that I thought it might be a good idea to look at the areas where the MS4 and the climate smart communities interact or intersect. And so I'd be glad to look into that. But barring any other comments regarding that.
I had a question. The MS4, like it affects any new development. But do they go back and impose it on?
My take was that there was, you know, if retrofitting or retrograde action was needed, that should be taken. That was, and certainly anything new that's done has to keep that in mind, but I think there also is an expectation of remediating any existing need. Am I reading that right?
First couple steps I remember is planting riparian buffers and gardens to collect rainwater. And then also there are provisions with how you plow the streets and how you do maintenance for Department of Public Works and the EPA. There's a number of things in terms of here's how you should be doing things, and they look at every year for progress. What did you do to make progress on this issue this year? If you don't make any progress, they whack you.
Well,
I mean, yeah, the federal government.
So the town is doing it.
Well, the town has been MS4 for a couple of years.
Yeah.
There, as of this year, the village is also designated as an MS4 district. So we can look to the town, which is, I think 4 years ahead of us, and kind of mimic the things they're doing. And their ENCB, the environmental board there, have been writing a lot of the rules and regulations, so we can look to their work too. But the DPW is taking the lead on that in the village, and that's something you might want to not get too involved in. It's pretty intense. Pick and choose what you want to do carefully.
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. I mean, the only place that I'm thinking about that there's an area both very close to each other, like, the end of tributary 13 before it goes into 32, like that's one area that's tested positive for the fecal contaminants and such. But also because there's that relatively new development that's the Green Acres. It's been going lot by lot, but that was sort of grandfathered in, like the way those lots are divided and how close the houses are to the stream, and there's like the detention pond right there that I know could be improved. And then also, I heard there was a plan to expand the Stewart's Market, but I haven't seen the plan for that. Like that they were doing something preliminary before the planning board, and that's right in that spot too. Like there's a
Yeah, they're moving across the street, aren't they?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it. Is that what they're doing?
I can update you on that during the reports.
Yeah, I would like to be updated on that because I wonder what because that's a sensitive area right there that's already been shown to be being contaminated. So.
It's kind of cool that the village and town now own most of tributary 13, which is the most polluted tributary feeding into the Wallkill. So maybe our constituents will force us to do something about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, how do you force someone to clean up? I mean, shame them.
That'd be my first move.
Find the source and expose it.
I think it's just a question of going up, from top to bottom, taking as many point tests as possible and finding out where the cookies are.
Okay.
Where they enter the
Well, I'm with you on that. But I feel like that would be a great SUNY student project maybe. But it would have to be you kind of have to get a professor and a whole class, I think.
Is someone actually dumping there? Is that what we think?
No, it's
Septic leakage
it's
or
septic-
I was gonna say, what is being.
It's
dumped
coming from we're not sure, but it feeds in there's a a pump station right there upstream.
The
That goes into
firehouse where they're going to buy rid of the CVS on that end of town, at the end of Henry W.
Is that actually
When
approved
not
now? They're gonna do it?
Yes.
Well,
But
I
they-
don't know.
but they better not.
It goes from the
Yes.
thruway
Right.
over there,
Right.
all the way through the preserve, and comes out by Stewart's, and
Mhm.
feeds into the preserve. And it shouldn't be dirty, but it's the dirtiest source.
Huh.
So I think, even Riverkeeper maybe could help.
Yeah,
A college class in conjunction with Riverkeeper.
yeah.
Didn't we go investigate that possibility with Riverkeeper getting involved in Trip 13 and there was
Yeah.
some conflict? I vaguely remember us
Well,
talking.
they hadn't approved where they were testing it for the year, and I guess they're a region-wide thing, and they had to make their priorities. But
And they had said we were welcome to citizen test ourselves and report to them, but that they couldn't be involved on their end if I
Well, I
remember
mean, the
correctly.
great thing about this SUNY is they have all the equipment and they're so close by. They've got all sorts of really cool students that have had do internships there. They have state-of-the-art equipment. They even get boots. And it's very good because it also gives them a chance to learn something right near the school. It's
So is this something that perhaps we could take some action on in terms of, perhaps,
We need someone to go and talk to, like, I can't do it.
okay,
It's
what
gonna
if,
be
what if we were to draft,
empowered.
what if we were to draft a letter coming from our group, from our commission, explaining the problem, disclosing whatever evidence we already have, and inviting them to work in conjunction with
Yeah,
us.
just talk to the dean of environmental studies or something like that, and I'm sure they can
Have
pass
them
it around.
disseminate it to the
Yeah.
various professors who would
Yes,
have that
a letter,
capacity.
that's a very good idea, a very
Okay.
formal letter, maybe coming from the mayor and the village, whatever.
Maybe we can invite the representative from that
Yeah.
department to come to our next meeting.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
We
that's
could,
good.
Excellent.
I like the idea of the letter.
I do too.
Because-
So a nice partnership.
Do we, letter to SUNY, do we have any preliminary testing, any data that we can show from previous tests in previous
Yeah.
years?
Well, we have prior, like, student projects that have been referenced in the report, the Milbrook Preserve report.
Okay,
And that's good for students, because then they can say, oh, I got my work in a report, you know? There
That
are
would be-
references in the back, this is just the.
all right, so why don't,
I just want to say one thing. Noah and I, a month or so ago, did some research on riparian planting, but then we didn't know what to do with it. So this is the kind of thing that we can offer, I think.
sure,
Oh, yeah, well, that's what you do to remediate it, you know, figure out where it's coming from, and then,
We can do
yeah.
both at the same time.
I'd like to do both at the same time. I'm not one
Absolutely.
who like feels like you have to have all the data to take action, I feel like.
No.
It's dirty, you wanna clean it up, okay, so,
We
you know,
start.
how dirty was it? I don't know, but it was.
it's definitely dirty. You know, I think to compel, someone from SUNY to take interest, it might not be a bad idea to just have some concrete, whatever we have, be it
Oh, yeah.
as formal or informal as it might be.
Yeah, no,
Why
but
don't we,
maybe it's just like, hey, we need help, will you guys do this for us as a like great community project, and, you know, let's clean this up, or let's at least mitigate our contribution to the pollution of the Walker.
Yeah.
Can we put whatever we have on Trib 13 into a digital format and just get it in one space on Google and,
We could, yeah, I once had it all on a website, but that came down, but I think I have all of it.
I mean, if it exists in slide format, we can just share that.
No, it
or-
doesn't, it's a variety of different things.
Okay.
It's a whole bunch of stuff.
I mean, in order to get a letter out, we don't need to go into too much depth,
You could
but,
just reference the report, and then the report references the studies, they don't have to see the studies. I mean, they know like a macroinvertebrate study, they know what it's gonna look like, it's, you know,
Right.
it's-
all right.
but I
Um,
can
Just maybe
those
get like
for
a
you.
one pager with bullet points of the major issues
Or,
and then
or if
the
there's
how-tos.
if there's a spare hard copy of the report, I could sift through and just put some, just pick out a couple of tidbits.
Oh, yeah, well,
You know
that's
what
on
I
this, the town, the report's on the town website, on the
Good.
CWASP, committee page. And
Okay.
that's where that's
And
the
CWASP?
this is where having
Oh.
those researchers would come in super handy.
CWOSP, it's the Committee for Wetlands and Open Space Protection.
Okay.
Okay, so then, I think this is something actionable that we can work on.
Cool.
Alright, I will, start looking for the CWASP information and I'll put some stuff in a Google
I can help
space
you
and,
with drafting it.
yeah.
I don't know much about it,
I'll
but
just open it up and we'll just get it living
Get
and
it
see
done.
where,
make
see
it
where it
look
goes.
nice.
Alright, very good. Awesome,
So,
okay.
yeah.
You mentioned open space, Noah's not here to talk about it, but the village board did go ahead and okay getting the software that Noah
Oh,
requested.
cool. Awesome.
The caveat was that he'll have to do the work at Village Hall on village hardware.
That makes sense.
He can't take the software out.
Just give them software.
Right, they can't do it. So, the software that he needed exists now, or it will shortly. I don't think they have it quite yet. Is it? Okay. So that's more good news. So lots of good news.
I found, I don't know if I could ever find it again, online, a bunch of wonderful maps like open spaces and all these things. Are they out of date, or they were done before, or what?
I think the issue is that there are existing maps that are considered to be inaccurate
Okay.
because of when they were created.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, this, just think about all these acquisitions. That's, you know.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah.
They didn't have dates on them, and I just didn't want to duplicate, but we need up-to-date stuff.
Right.
And the
And
developments of-
if I'm reading it correctly, the maps came into question because they allowed or prohibited certain activities, and so they were called into question. Their accuracy was called into question. Is that?
I don't know what this is.
Something to that effect, but point being, it would be of great use to everyone if we had a more up-to-date map. So now we have the software to do that, so that's a good first step. All right. List of recycling
Okay, this is
locations.
so low-key, so much smaller than getting the Milbrook thing. But anyway,
it all
I've been working
contributes.
on this forever. And it's a list of recycling places. Please? Oh, do I have a copy? Oh, goodness. I must.
That's okay.
I think that's accurate. Now, I handed this out at different places without saying it was from us or anything official. And people say, oh my goodness, I didn't know that I could do
Yeah,
electronics. I didn't know that, oh, I'm gonna go down to Gardner and get all that stuff taken care of. So, and I've had really good results, fluorescent bulbs, stuff like that. My problem, and I've got some real estate people interested in handing it out. Not in this form, that's my
Right.
problem. They, for instance, the real estate people would give it to everyone who moves to town or everyone they deal with. My problem is I don't have the money to make this into like a thing.
Foldable.
Yeah, in color, it should be in color or something. I don't know how to proceed. I guess I'm sort of asking for guidance here. But it does work. People are using it.
I think it's fantastic, and I think some of the regulations have changed with regards to electronics and how you can dispose of them. And I know this last time when the village did the curbside pickup for household waste, there was a lot of electronic waste in there, and I'm not so sure it should have been.
No.
Appliances, they said yes to appliances and no to electronics, but now those two things have kind of, you know.
Well, this is, I've sort of underlined the things that stand out to people, like getting rid of alkaline batteries and stuff.
Which
stuff
is
that
so
bothers them.
useful, yeah.
Yeah, but everywhere here, I say you gotta call, because there are fees for different things. Laura, I guess it is, up at our recycling center, is so useful, and she'll help in any way, the Gardner people. Now, how can I get this in some kind of form? And who's it coming from? Can it come from this commission?
It should be put in the paper.
Yeah, it should be on the website.
Yeah, and the
it-
website,
It should be on our website for sure, and with some publishing software, it probably wouldn't be too terribly hard for us to turn this into something a little more user-friendly. I think
Do we have a?
one of us or some of us could make it.
I can do it in a thing like that.
Right.
But do we have a color copier here?
The village has some resources, and we have, the commission has a secretary. Why don't we ask Andrea to work with the clerk's office
Yeah.
to try to turn that into the sort of
All right.
document that the realtors could use, and we could hand that to
I think
people.
we can get other people to hand it out too, but realtors was a way. that I
Realtors,
thought-
could it potentially go out in a round of water bills or something?
Sure.
Yeah.
All the landlords in town should know
The
this.
landlords
because
should
all
have
the
access
students
to
leave
it.
so
Yeah.
much crap, you know?
Now, things change. I mean, I've checked this 10 ways from forever, but things change or errors are made. And I was trying to think of a way that people could say, oh, they're no longer taking, fluorescent bulbs at this place. how can people give feedback? That's what I couldn't figure out.
They have to have a comment section, or they have to let us know via email of any changes, and then we would update it, I guess, on the website.
Yeah, I wouldn't use my email, but would we get like a Yahoo email?
We have an email right now, actually, with our Google Drive, because we have a Google group, so they can email at any time. It's a Gmail
Okay.
account.
Oh, you'll tell me how to do that.
Yeah.
So we can receive, I wasn't aware that we could receive
Yeah.
emails from outside of the group.
I'm pretty sure you can. I mean, I could be wrong, I can double check, but there is an email address at least for the group, that I think might be open. There might be an ability to like instead of making it private, to be public. I'll double check on that. I'm not
Okay.
like the biggest expert with Google Groups, but I'm happy to look it up.
Well, yeah, but you've really been so helpful with that.
Wow.
So I'm hearing that I'll work with Andrea, make this into a presentable form, start with the real estate people, and then we'll look for other ways to get this out.
In the meantime, I would love to get this on the ECB, EPC, or other website as is,
Well,
as a
Andrea could do
Word
that,
document.
right?
Is she in charge of website? I don't think so.
Do
No.
we have a website?
We have a page on the village
I think
website.
it's the one I looked at before, it's like very minimal and
It's
completely outdated with the,
it's
John
extremely-
is gone and Dennis and.
It's extremely outdated, so.
I frankly don't think people look to the website to figure out what to do with their boats and their, I think that this is, well, at least where I came from in Massachusetts, maybe it's different. And people put them, and I wish we could get a little thing to put it up on the refrigerator. You know, that's what they. and people
Yeah.
say,
I
"Oh, yeah,
agree
well,
with that, but people now, like if you get it on a website, then you have a URL you can share with people,
Sure,
or you get a little,
but our
and then-
website's kind of, need a
Yeah,
little.
this needs attention because it's got
oh no, it's
the wrong
terrible,
membership
like,
and.
the calendar is screwed up too. It's wrong.
We're not, Andrea's too busy, work with clerk's office.
Okay,
But,
the clerk in the back there?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that that's who we would talk to just clean up that, yeah, okay. All right, so, I can shoot an email about getting that updated.
And just to add-
Which is deputy clerk at Village of New Paltz.
Okay,
If the group doesn't work, like the email doesn't work for some reason, oh, I see what it is. If the group email doesn't work, then I can just create one for Gmail.
Well, you
Okay.
should have an email, John, because you should have an
Well, it's
official
in-
email, like that's just, or actually, what you should have is, there should be a new email. It used to be ENCC@villageofnewpaltz.com.
right,
But you should have the email address, ECB
right.
chair or whatever, just ECB@villageofnewpaltz.org.
Do-
But I wouldn't
I
want
don't
him.
know if
No,
that
but-
already exists, was
yeah.
that ever created?
No, it should, there used to be one, because I
Okay.
used to have it, and basically it's just like on the village website.
It's off the
Contact.
village, it's off the
Deputy
village.
clerk.
Yeah,
Right, and then
okay.
you just, it's better to have it be one address, and then whoever's chair just gets that,
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than like have it be something.
100%.
Well-
yeah.
Do you, John, do you really want to get every little thing?
Um,
Wouldn't it be better if I checked it from like a Gmail account? I mean, I'm not trying to take anything.
Well, no,
away.
I like the idea of it going through the Village of New Paltz website.
Okay.
If it's an official correspondence or somebody from the community wishes to
True.
speak to this commission. So I do like the idea of it being housed, just having it say at Village of New Paltz,
See, I wanted to
But-
sort of mother it along.
Yeah, but I mean, you're more than welcome to help me sort through it, that would be great. But I definitely think that's something we want to look
Okay,
into.
good.
And I think, as Rachel said, for the time being, we could put this in this Word format as a link on our site. And then, as you said, it's a URL that you can link in your emails and stuff
But
like
for
that.
hard copy, I work with Andrea.
For hard copy, you could talk to Andrea, and I mean, we could just do it simple on publishing software.
Yeah.
I do let you use the printer if you need it for something, because if you tell them they'll let you use it.
Oh, good.
Sometimes you just have to bring your own paper, but not always. When we've had to send something out, like we've been able to, and I know one time, we were doing a grant proposal and they made you make, 20 copies of the proposal and,
Yeah, like they do.
like 20 pages each, and the village let us use the copier for that.
Well, I can, on my own printer, I can get a good copy that then can be copied
Oh,
to
then, yeah, that makes
PDQ or wherever.
The other thing too is that if the good thing about getting it online is that then if someone Googles where do I go to take
It's
my
copy and paste.
things, it'll take them to the.
Sure, that's right, it'll
Website,
begin to
yeah.
show up.
I mean, this was what's beautiful. I can't believe that. I had no idea that in Kingston, there's no fee for electronics, TVs, computers. Usually, you really do have to pay for
You do
for
usually.
those, for computers,
Mhm.
especially, believe me, I got stuck with a whole bunch of old computers, and I still have some of them. But now I know where I can go to.
Well, do call ahead, because these things do change, even the things in New Falls changed since I first started working on it. Great work.
So maybe, yeah, this is fantastic work, this is great. Maybe as opposed to us having to check it to verify this information, we might want to just put a disclaimer at the top, please call to verify information
yeah.
below, and that, in that
And
way.
it says it
you know,
throughout.
Yeah, okay, all right, so, yeah, I think this
Oh,
is something
great.
valuable, and we should put it right up, yeah, it's
Good,
great.
I'll do it. Yay, team.
All right, so I will speak with Alberta about getting the website updated and getting this added to it.
All right.
And I'll also speak to her about the email address through our village email address, through the village website. And then we'll just kind of take it and see how it comes with the influx of mail. We may find that we're extremely
This is the
popular, we may
worst
find that we're
thing I
not
ever
popular.
saw. Yeah, how could you do this? Shoes, books, furniture.
What does it say books?
Oh, that's the Salvation Army.
Oh, I don't know if they still take books.
Well, see, like I
Yeah.
say, it changes
It
constantly,
changes.
depending on how much stuff. Whoever knew about Twice Blessed Thrift Shop?
Oh, my
I've heard of it before, but I didn't
my
know they
daughter
recycled.
goes there.
Oh, yeah,
They're
really?
very good. I've been there a couple times. They're very good.
And I included
Yeah, behind
the
the church.
Department of Environmental Conservation for, like, seeing stuff, at Milbrook or something, where somebody's misbehaving, putting paint in the water or something. That's the place to let them know.
Mhm. Great. Excellent. All right, so we have some web stuff to look at. I'll keep everybody updated with what I find on that. Relocation renovation of bus station. That was something that was open from previous meetings. I don't know if anyone
I heard
was
a lot.
spearheading that or took a particular.
Doesn't the village board know where that is?
There's-
Well, there's a committee meeting.
Yeah. Well, no, I remember at the last meeting I was at, there was a lot of public comment about it and how like basically the mayor was saying nothing's really being done yet, that everything's just kind of coming into, a report and whatnot. So, I mean, I don't think anything as far as I know in the last month has drastically happened from there, but I know a lot of people are really, really, really against it, so. And I'm against it too. I take the bus to work every week into the city, and I don't understand why we
think
need more
it's-
parking. You go to the park and ride, go to the other park and ride by 32. There's no point.
And I think there's something sort of quaint and beat up and rusty about the bus
It's so
station that I
village.
like. It's so.
It's quaint.
Yeah, it's.
Have other
it's
people gone
a
to
throwback.
the County of Ulster place where they made the plans? I really suggest you do that, because they really planned this to be a major
Mhm.
bus thing, and you really see it there.
They just want to throw money at us so we do it. But, all our village
Well,
needs to do is just say, no, we don't want to do this. It's
I have
not
this fear
necessary.
that there's more behind it. When you, go ahead and read what the county people say, you have to kind of go through. But they have all the plans laid out, of what they plan to do? It's all been approved?
There
Is that
was
right?
an artist rendering that ran in the paper at some point that
Yeah,
looked
it's a better look at it.
pretty
It's online.
extensive.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, I think what's driving it is the leases up for the current site. So they've got to figure out whether to renew the lease or do the lease somewhere else. That's what started this conversation. And they are stating that looking 20 years, 30 years into the future, New Paltz is growing, ridership's growing, that they just won't be able to service the town. That's their position. I'm just repeating it.
Yeah.
So silly. What about Rosendale? Like,
They want
Well,
to
the parking ride over by Stewart's is not going to be, they're not renewing the lease there.
oh, they're
That's
not.
gonna be it.
Well, I mean, I don't know who uses that anyway. That parking lot is always empty. The
Yeah.
one that's always full is the one I use that was just right by the thruway.
Mhm.
I mean, that's where, and there's plenty of spaces there, you
Yeah,
know,
all the
peop-
time.
and the amount or volume of people commuting into the city and living up here is not drastically changing. I mean, if anything, the college is growing, but it's not like there's like a mass amount of like headquarters being built in New Paltz or in Kingston where
Well,
you would like,
He's gonna talk about a resort.
yeah, let's talk about the resort.
So they've got 3 sites narrowed down. They're going to recommend one of the 3 sites. It's the STS site where the STS burned down, the
STS.
existing site, and this site, this spot right here,
Oh, they can't come here.
Yeah, well, that.
where they would take,
Oh my
leave this
God.
building, but take all the space around it and turn it into a bus station.
That would be, that would
Those are the
be.
3 options.
That
They-
would be so terrible.
That
Yeah, it
would,
wouldn't exactly fit the rural neighborhood.
it
No.
would kill this neighborhood. We would
Yeah.
just.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're not like a major transportation hub.
Before September, there's supposed to be a recommendation for one of those 3 sites.
Now, if they took over the STS site, would they then take over that parking lot as their parking lot also?
Right.
Would that be the idea? They would build the facility on the STS?
It's like 6 bus, like what are those called? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you would think if,
Slots that, yeah, slots, and then they would have the whole lot.
if the argument was that the college is growing exponentially, then you would think you would want that facility somewhere near the college.
Or
Not that
near
I
the
want
college.
it here, but it seems like it would be odd
Yeah.
to put it all
Or
out
let's
there.
like, that not all kids come from the city either.
I don't understand why they can't just
Well,
stop up
isn't
in the
there a
parking lot
kiosk
and do
at the
something
college?
on the college.
Right, but you don't wanna.
The college has 0 parking as it is because they keep building dorms,
Right.
which I think, this is another thing I wanted to bring up to you and just to see what you all felt, but talking to them about the idea of like removing freshman cars. Because I went to a college my freshman year of school where you weren't allowed to have a vehicle, and if you did, you'd have to pay like, it was an exorbitant amount of money to have a permit. So I'm like, what if New Paltz did that? Why do freshmen need cars? We have a trailways, where they have the train, and the UCAT goes to the train, so that could be something that we could talk about. That was a little sidebar that just got me going, but.
I think that's a great idea.
I don't know how much sway we would have in that matter, but we could certainly write a
We can
letter of
always ask,
recommendation.
you know, are you thinking about
Well, I'm
this?
very persuasive.
You can always write a letter, you know, that's,
Go to the
Right, Dave.
sustainability
There's
committee.
this mysterious group that
um,
meets, and I just say mysterious because they're not filled, town gown, where local government, like the mayor and the supervisor get together with the college and the superintendents of schools, and they talk about, what do they talk about?
They go out to dinner?
Those haven't
No, it's a
been,
meeting,
no, it's a meeting, it's either here or on campus, and they were open at one time, but then they were closed, and I don't know whether they're open or closed right now.
so I think we could, if we want to make a recommendation, we could bring it to the mayor, we could bring it to the town gown. That's where they talk to each other.
But, what I was recommending was they have a sustainability coordinator on campus,
Okay.
and this, I mean, restricting the amount of cars it's an environmental issue. And it
Exactly.
would actually make the campus more sustainable, so that might be.
Exactly.
Might be the person.
I'm happy to talk to them. That was like something I've been thinking about for a while. I'm like, why do we have so many cars in our village? It's like ridiculous.
So I'll give you contact.
Yeah, that would be great.
Don't remind me.
All right, I will.
recommendation for freshmen.
That's a great idea.
Does anyone have any new items or items that did not make it to this agenda that they would like to add or?
I don't know if there's
Yeah,
opportunity. to
feel free.
quickly.
Yeah,
I'm new to the function of this commission, so I first have a question, and that is, how do you decide what problems or issues to deal with?
the function of the commission is to make recommendations to the village board. And the way that those issues are decided is each commissioner has, I guess you could call it a pet project or an issue that they work on. And each commissioner is also allotted 2 researchers. So it does to some degree end up being at the commissioner's discretion what issues they work on. There are circumstances where things have come up that, you know, in the village that have swayed our interest or you know, influenced what we do. There was a switch or a proposed switch to natural gas. The village hall was going to be converted, and we strongly opposed that, and we kind of dropped everything and requested 60 days to work on sort of devil's advocate stuff on that issue. And so circumstances may dictate, but generally it's at a commissioner's discretion. And what's really ended up happening is commissioners will work on a pet project, but then there's these other things that we, at the very least, discuss and sometimes take action on.
Well, first I would like to say this, this is the first time I've been to one of these meetings, and I applaud the care that you are giving to the issues that you're discussing. You all sound very thoughtful and well-informed. I'm here primarily because of the issue that I'm sure you are aware of to one degree or another, and that has to do with the proposed water district for Plains Road. And what I was wondering was what your take is on the fact that there are 2 experts who have opposing opinions about the effect of pumping on Plains Road will have on the aquifer. And I know this may be something you've already discussed. This may be an uncomfortable topic. I don't know. It certainly is very politically charged.
Who are the 2 experts and who's paying them? Just
Well,
to be clear.
Mr. Klausner wrote a very lengthy report after doing much research and saying basically that pumping at Plains Road would be okay. That's about simple as you can put it. And many residents on Plains Road, and when I say Plains Road, I'm including Cedar Lane and Shawangum and Shawangum View and Wilkeston. People were alarmed right from the very beginning because mistakes occurred right from the very beginning, which led us to be distrustful of the expertise that what was being purported to be expertise. And it got to a point where the people on Plains Road gathered $5,000 between us and hired somebody, Paul Rubin, who is, actually he's a water expert, he's a hydrogeologist. I believe Mr. Klauser is an engineer, so he has his own area of expertise. But Mr. Rubin is a hydrogeologist whose expertise is in the water issues in this area of Hudson Valley, maybe extended further, I'm not sure. And his report basically disagreed with every conclusion that Mr. Klauser came to, with the exception that if certain amount of pumping was going to exist at Plains Road, then the wells on Plains Road would be dewatered or would be adversely affected. And that is why the water district is being proposed, so that homeowners would have municipal water and all that other stuff. And the reason I bring this to you is because we've been, when I say we, I mean homeowners, have been dealing with this issue since last May, a year ago. And at no time with the, no, let me back up. The one point that I just said where the 2 reports agree is the only time that either at the town level or at the village level, Mr. Rubin's report has been acknowledged that it even exists. The report was given free of charge to all the town board and village board members, and everybody was very polite, but nothing happened. And I'm very confused, as are many of my neighbors, as to why it would be ignored when you have two experts who have basically opposing opinions where the aquifer is at risk. And there are some people who are opposed to municipal water because they don't want municipal water, they want their wells. And I respect their opinion, that is not my position. My position is that I'm opposed to the pumping on Plains Road because it could very well put the aquifer at risk. And that, I think, is unwise to do that. So what I've asked the village board prior to the new administration, and what I've asked the town board, as have many of my neighbors, we have said, why not get a third opinion? What, you know, when you go to a doctor, your doctor who you've been to for many years and you trust says you need surgery, it's major surgery, you're going to take a step back and get another opinion. And if the second opinion is opposition to the first opinion, chances are you're going to go and look for a third. And that's, I'm looking for logic here and I don't see it. And I was wondering, I mean, there, I just spilled my guts, so what do you think?
Is the second evaluation available to us? Is it online?
You have it right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go figure.
The first one was paid for by the village. Now,
Or the town? Village?
no, the village board, however, because New York City, I don't know how to say this simply, many of the expenses, maybe even all of the expenses to date, are being covered by New York City.
Yeah.
And that may or may not include the cost of the report. I can't say, I don't know if you know.
I think we just approved at the last meeting, payment of over $100,000 to various engineers because the New York City had paid the village, so they're paying for pretty much everything. And once they pay the village pays the engineers and the scientists.
And do you have brought this up to the new mayor, have you?
I have not asked this question the way that I just asked it to you. I'm trying to think if I've been to a village board meeting since he took office, but he is well, I'm going to say no, I haven't been to a village board meeting since he took office. I don't really remember, but he's well aware of this.
Okay.
The village board discussed and passed a resolution to see whether we should respond to that report.
Oh, that's good
And
to
the
know.
decision
I know that.
was to ask the attorney if that was wise. And that's what happened in public.
Okay.
No action has been taken since then.
Thank you. Some of these reports are highlighted, and I did that because I thought they were the parts that were most pertinent, and I believe you already have a copy of this.
Thank you. And this is the one that
This is
the neighbors have paid for? Or the
This
first?
is Paul Rubin.
Okay.
I think, isn't his name on it?
Yes, it is,
Yeah.
sorry.
And this is his report, and it's been presented in full, and,
Don, why would it go to the attorney? I mean, this is information.
Well, the question is, should the village respond to that report?
To an outside report that the village didn't pay for. It's just,
Yeah, I
it's
guess
an
the
independent.
Discussion at the table was, might this cause potential legal problems since we already have a report we paid for? I'm just trying to explain what was said, not endorsing a
What's
particular
your name
position.
again, please?
Donna Lehman, L.A.
Well, Donna pointed out that you get more than one piece of input or something important. Why wouldn't we want it? I'm sound like I'm
Well,
hassling
I'm
you,
trying to
but
speak
I'm
very
not.
carefully because I'm very passionate and
I know you are, you have a different view.
spoken to this issue at the village table. Well, I think the last board, when they talked about it, said, we have a report we've paid for, and we have no reason to be unhappy with that report. Why should we be considering a report that we haven't paid for?
That's so stupid.
And the other,
Excuse me, but that's
other
ridiculous.
thing that's been said is we have a group of citizens and
And he's not even a
constituents.
water hydrologist or whatever it is. That doesn't make me very happy as a resident. That's not okay.
So-
And I'd like for you to bring this up in public comment at the next village board meeting. I think that's important. And get the neighbors to come as well.
Well, we have attended many meetings, and to be honest, and I'll be there if I'm in town, which I should be, I will be there. When I said before that we have been met with politeness,
Right.
that's pretty much the extent of it. On different occasions, questions might be answered, sometimes they're answered, sometimes, well, for a very long time, the village board won't answer questions, and
Right.
I'm saying before the current members who are sitting, because it was a different.
It seems like they can't. They're kind of in
During,
this.
during public comment, they're not
They're not allowed to respond, right?
it's-
Yeah,
it's-
and now that the lawyer's involved, they probably definitely don't want
Well, and, yeah, and that's the reason that they give, and that's fine, I mean, there's all kinds of technicalities that different agencies are using at their discretion, and honestly, if I was in a position of being held liable, or whatever the correct legal term is, I would be careful too, I mean, I don't blame anybody.
Donna, if I may, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I actually was present for much of the public discussion. I saw Donna speak, and other members of that part of the community. And I certainly sympathize. And I'm speaking anecdotally, not as the chair of this commission. It did feel as if one perspective dominated the conversation, and that was the perspective to go forward on Plains Road. I think from the perspective of where the EPC could come in or would come in, is obviously an aquifer being affected is an environmental issue, clearly. However, and this is, again, I'm speaking for myself, seen through the lens of how it impacts homeowner wells, while it's an environmental issue, I'm wondering if there aren't other environmental impacts for which this group could make comment effectively. So for example, if the surrounding area, if flora and fauna were disturbed, which I'm sure they would be, those kinds of things could compel an organization such as ours to make a statement for or against something. Does that make sense to anyone else?
So can I see if I understand what you're saying? Are you understanding that, are you saying that the possible effect on the aquifer is not enough?
No, that's not what I'm
He's
saying.
trying to get around it to say, how can we get involved proactively if there's other environmental impacts?
Okay.
He's not disagreeing
More
with
than
you.
fauna, more than.
I don't know if that's
Right.
Because that is in our purview so much. I mean, we could say something about this, but if you guys even made a report without experts or with experts that said a certain kind of duck or turtle or whatever would be affected, I know it's a pain in the neck, but that would be what I think would have a
Go
stronger.
forward on something like that.
In other words, an aquifer
To
is,
this, but, you know, we
In the
wouldn't be as very
context of us
powerful.
being an MS4 community, if there were to be old trees taken down, for example,
Well, that certainly will happen. Now, at the last,
just a suggestion.
at the
good
last
idea.
Things done.
town board meeting, no, not the last one, the one before last. Mr. Logan stated that each individual homeowner would get to decide with the independent contractor what the route would be from the pipe
Yeah,
to
that's
the
right.
house. And if that were true, I'm not saying it's not true, it's just not written down anywhere, so
Right, so it's
you
huge.
can't count on it.
I saw that reported in the paper, but that doesn't mean that it's
Right,
legal, you know.
right. So, and if that did turn out to be true, then maybe a lot or a majority of the old trees would be saved. But who knows if that's actually the way.
these are the kind of questions that I think are where we would be of use. Some of these things are outside of our purview, but environmental impacts would be, those are the kind of things, obviously an aquifer is an environmental asset, but as it relates to impacts on homeowner wells, I don't know
I'm not sure.
if that's our purview.
Okay.
However, if you come to us and say, look, we have evidence to suggest that this is gonna have an impact on a certain shade tree or a certain animal, or that is something that's more in our purview.
Would it have to be the way that you just stated, like an impact on a particular type of tree? Do you know what I'm saying?
No, and I'm wondering, and again, because the way that I'm seeing this document, I'm only giving it a tertiary view, is that it's very focused on the impact on
yeah,
water
it's all
supply,
about water,
right?
sure.
So I'm wondering if there are other issues, and
There must be.
there has to, I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
I don't know, and obviously you've been dealing with this battle for some time, so I don't know if there's anything of that nature that you've turned up.
Can you
We
have
haven't
me?
asked, we haven't asked those questions.
Right.
We're totally
I
focused
have
on
a
the
question. If what you're asking for here is further testing by the DEC and, you know, the DEC to delay certain actions, have you been petitioning the DEC? Have you been?
We have been petitioning.
And what do they say? But the DEC, I mean, it's like if you're saying you want them to require additional testing, then wouldn't.
We basically don't have a choice. We're easy to ignore. We're easy to dismiss. We're easy to have to be described as NIMBY. You know, it's very, very easy to do that. And that's really not the issue at all. Like I said before, there are some people who, but it's very few, who don't want municipal water, period. The majority of the people who have expressed themselves don't want to put the aquifer at risk. And that, in this day and age, if we choose, regardless if you're a village resident or I don't care, we're residents of the world, we should know better than to do something like this without at least making sure that it'll be okay.
Right, right. I hear you, and I as a resident too, I don't think that that's right, and I think that you
It's
need.
craziness.
Is
You
part
need-
of that
This
a
is a
wetland?
problem.
I don't.
It was a.
Well, no, wait, the land, it's 101 Plains Road, I don't know.
It was a big gravel mine.
Well, it basically still
They
is.
mined out all the gravel,
Right.
and then they had a big pit there.
Yeah,
And then
and now
they
it's
filled
like,
it in with something.
well, it's like grass or, it's not. I don't know that it's,
Well, I'm just
can't say
looking
it's-
for birds and turtles.
yeah.
And again, if one avenue of protest is ignored, it might not be a bad idea to try another avenue. So in other words, if those impacts could be shown, that's yet another angle, another play that we can make. So,
I wonder if there's people at the ecology department of the university who could help you out. You don't want to go out there and count the
I
birds.
wouldn't know where to begin.
But, I mean, there must be people around who do stuff like that, you know, the environmental impact.
That's a good point.
and maybe Mr. Rubin could point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because while he was focused in one thing, while he was doing his report, he may have noticed other things.
Well,
or-
now let me be clear. His report is based on Mr. Cloud's report. So, and Mr. Cloud's report.
Using Mr. Clauser's data
Right,
and
exactly.
coming to another
Exactly.
conclusion. Okay, so he didn't do any of his own.
He didn't.
I see.
No,
I see.
no, he did not.
Is
Okay.
there
That's
someone
the
on the
expensive
campus that like
Yeah, yeah.
specializes in this? I wonder that can be your like independent, like third person that would be willing to like look it over, like a master's student or something. That's possible. I don't know. Like a professor that has like.
I hope you don't have much to do.
Yeah. As I'm sure this must be. It's very
Well,
difficult to sit on.
Well, I feel sorry, you know, that this has been going on for so long. Just as a person to person, it's awful.
So they have the equipment to test for all these things.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
They have. I
The
know
school?
that- Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're getting in contact with someone from the school.
I know that one of the students who did an internship for me borrowed, it's like a big wand, and you can test for most of these things. They
We're
are-
writing a formal letter to someone at the school about the Milbrook.
About water
Two-
testing, about water testing.
Two separate things.
Two different
um,
places,
Two
though.
different places. There's a bit of space there. If I might make a suggestion, maybe Donna, if you want to kind of go back to your people and bring up what we've said here and perhaps just maybe start to look at it through another lens, I think on our part, we could certainly brainstorm and I'll be honest, I don't know a whole lot about the area. I used to live on Plains Road, I used to rent there. But I'm not terribly familiar. I mean, obviously the river is there and other things. But it's sort of a food for thought, and let's think on it and talk and think and revisit. Do you have an email?
Yes, I do. It's DW Liebman, LIEDMAN, 1020 @gmail.
And it's DW Liebman,
Liebman, LIEB as in boy, MAN,
1020
@gmail.
All right.
One other point I'd make, Donna, the very first thing we talked about tonight, they talked about was the need to recruit another commissioner. There's an empty chair here. And a village resident needs to fill that chair, but if there was a village resident who had interest and wanted to pick that as their issue,
If you're already using it as
Bob is
your.
not a town resident, if you.
yeah, well, it's a village resident.
Oh, what's the dividing
Well,
line?
recruit-
Is it
Right at the end of
locust?
Plains Road.
Oh, really?
Which,
Doesn't mean that we don't support you.
No, I understand that, but I mean, it's like, I'll talk to the guy standing in front of the post office if he'll listen. I mean, you know, it's like, I mean, I knew coming here, that a lot of the, I'm gonna say, I don't know the right word to use, because nobody wants to claim ownership of this project. We're not even allowed to call it a project yet, because it hasn't gotten to that formal stage yet. But the town is doing a lot more of it, in my understanding, at this point, than the village has been for the last year or so. And so I knew that coming in, but I feel, that's why I go back to my original statement about how we're listening. We can't,
Right.
who wants to hide behind, well, I live on that side of the line, so.
No,
it's not my
yeah.
issue. No, I wouldn't
Yeah.
suggest that you would say that, I'm just saying, it's craziness.
That's what you've been
It's craziness.
encountering, but, you know, if you can get some ecological stuff that we can run with.
Okay.
That would be my best advice, to kind of look at it through that lens, and there very well might be meat there. So,
Okay.
and
There
that's,
would be.
that's the kind of thing that we bring to the village board.
Okay. Very good. Thank you so much for
Great.
listening. Of course.
Thank you for coming.
Engaging me in conversation. I really appreciate it.
My heart goes out to you
Yeah.
as a
Likewise.
person.
Well, you know, the thing is, it isn't just Plains Road, because if the aquifer is adversely affected, it's gonna be all of us.
Mhm.
I know.
And then what?
It's true.
Absolutely.
It's true.
All right, so let's, we'll agree to revisit that, and if you
Very good.
turn anything up, I'm gonna give you my email before you go. All right, the last thing was just, member issues moving forward,
No,
so.
we were gonna hear about.
And we need to hear about Don's Resort, so, right, and, I'm sorry?
Let's call it planning board, because we're supposed to have a representative of the planning board, and this has to do with that.
Okay,
So is it my?
yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
Noah's been going to planning board
Right.
meetings, so I report his absence. There was a question, somebody had a question about Stewart's expanding.
Yeah.
And the big picture is the village as a board, and the planning board is right now changing the zoning for North Chestnut. And it's a big visionary thing, it's been worked on for a while, taken a lot of time and a lot of work. And it envisions mixed use, commercial on the bottom floor, and affordable housing or apartments on upper floors. So as I understand it, there was not an application, but a pre-application, informally made by stewards to expand and relocate a super stewards, as they call them, across the street where the STS used to be. And at just about the same time, to finish their work on this new zoning, the village board put in a moratorium, 90-day moratorium on new applications or building for that section. So whatever stewards might have wanted to do, or if they wanted to do a formal application, that's not going to be permitted for 90 days. And at the end of that 90 days, their sort of plan may or may not fit the new zoning. And it
What about
doesn't.
the bus stop, and it's a bus station, aren't they contending for the same space?
They are, and one of the provisions in the new zoning that they're talking about would be, one of the approved uses would be an intermodal bus station, or intermodal transportation station. Again, I'm not sure which of those terms is used. So a bus station, if that were the site selected, would be permitted. So that's the update on whether stewards are going to move across the street or not. There is another pre-application which more recently came in, and there's been discussion of commercial use for what is called the pit, right behind this building. And again, it's I think at the pre-application stage, so it's not an official thing, but there's a talk of a resort, which would
A
include.
resort in that little space?
Well, I think if you plan carefully, you can put a lot in that little space. But from the standpoint of interest for the Environmental Policy Commission, I know one of the things in the law that created this commission is to have someone go to the planning board meetings and be aware and report back. So this is.
Oh, wow, no, that is definitely a seeker, that's right, that's like, if someone's, if that application actually comes in, that would be the bump to the top of the list.
So that's the reason I'm reporting out.
The map of the new zoning was sent out with Andrew's email, so you can see what it looks like.
Can I ask a question? I have friends who live, I don't know how to say the name of this street, Bogatu?
Montague.
Oh, well, I'll learn.
Close enough. That's pretty good.
They had heard that there's a big apartment complex going to go up in here.
Well, that was
Is
that
right?
big white spot in the Milbrook Preserve.
Yeah.
That the village recently.
Oh,
put
okay, so that's not gonna happen. Oh,
She
praise
mentioned
God.
the big townhouses that, as Rachel
Oh,
has
that's so
done. Yes.
great. Oh,
Thank you very
all
much.
right, I can assure them
Thanks
that
again.
they.
Thank
Hey,
you, have a good night.
Good luck
Night.
now,
Thank you very
yeah, keep up the good fight.
Thank you.
And just to be sure, too, is there any part of that pre-application with the resort is that confidential?
No, but I wouldn't describe it as a resort. It's a residential property and a hotel.
Okay.
How big is the hotel, like how many beds do you know?
Number of rooms, I believe it's approximately 80.
Oh
That's kind of
my
a lot.
God.
That's
And all the parking.
And how many residences?
Residents, a similar number
Wow.
of spaces. Yeah, it's a very big property. That lot is
Oh
larger than you
my
would think. It's
God.
2.4 acres.
Yeah, but there's a sort of a stream that goes there, it's
I'll show you the
wet,
plans.
yes, I
So
would love to
this,
see them.
this
Oh.
applicant,
This is
The
unending.
traffic, the traffic is gonna be the major thing, like how the hell, how?
Someone just needs to buy the America's Best whatever thing, just make that a hotel, like a nice one.
Oh my
No,
God.
but this space has been, I mean, honestly, the best use of that space would be a dog park.
Well, now there's an idea.
Well, totally, because it's right there, the dog park's all the way out by the fairground. We
I
need
don't
one
have a
right in the
dog, but
village.
if it were for cats, I would like.
Well, I think we could, I don't know.
Getting giggly.
In the interest of
80
time,
rooms in the hotel.
Oh, that's
That
ridiculous.
is wild.
in the interest of time, Don, do you have a recommendation for us?
You
for
have the-
lunch?
you have the
I just
plans,
wanted
can I
to
see
put
the
it on the
map?
radar screen because I know it's something that will be of interest.
I can show you.
Yeah, I mean, these are some pretty tall buildings, so I think it's.
And
So
then-
they're gonna go to the, it's gonna go to the planning board?
The
How
first
many
step would be an application to the
stories?
planning, well, pre-application, which is informal, and an application which is formal.
Okay.
And the planning board would.
That whole corridor is gonna be mixed use, residential, commercial, and I read said something about trying to preserve the sight lines and seem
Well, you
to.
know, this is another bit, this is back to the.
You're back on.
I'm back
Three.
on Chestnut, right?
Your question was?
Those are gonna be mixed use, commercial, residential as well, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so we're talking about some pretty big plans.
Yeah.
There's really nothing new agree, compared to what the previous administration did, that there was some conflicting language that the planning board identified where it was really unclear. So if an applicant was looking at the existing language, it said a single-story structure was permitted, but then it also said mixed-use, multi-story is required. So that is why there is a building moratorium, so that this code can be rewritten and just be more clear for applicants. So there's really no new intentions for the district besides what this administration, the previous administration, this has been discussed since the Bean report. I think the first time they wrote a report for the village of New Paltz was like 2007 or 2009. So none of this is really like new.
Right. Okay.
All right, what's our next meeting?
Next meeting would be the last Tuesday in August, which is my calendar.
I'll look it up. The 25th of August.
Okay, so 25th.
Nuts, man. I don't know.
That's some kind of date. Oh, no, okay.
All right, so I'll put something out about the letter to SUNY and about the
Yeah.
updates on the website
Yep.
and that kind of stuff shortly.
I wrote up notes, so if you want to look at my notes, it's under my.
Okay. I'm gonna get a DVD copy and give that to
To Andrea.
Andrea so she can
Okay.
write that stuff up. Very good. Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you, thank you.